All right, welcome to Eugene's People's Forum. Tonight is August 5th, and this is the second one that we've held so far. While the City Council and Commissioners are on vacation, we are not. That's all I'm going to say. So.
All right, my name is Lonnie Douglas. I'm a local community organizer here in Eugene and Springfield area. And what I wanted to talk about today was the issues that we've had recently with the two shootings that we've had and gun violence and how that relates in our local community. I'm a registered Republican. I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment. However, I have pretty serious concerns about the trend that we're seeing with gun violence. Coming up here on the 10th, I believe there's going to be a rally in Eugene by other conservatives in the area. It's labeled God's Gun and Trump. And my concern is that when we as conservatives and gun owners start using our firearms to intimidate other groups, all we're doing is we're increasing the chance that they are going to come and take our guns away. We need to be responsible gun owners, and what we need to do is not use those firearms, use our guns to intimidate or menace other people. You know, it's one thing to do open carry and walk down, you know, to protect yourself. It's another thing to go to a protest or go to somebody else's event with your gun to try to intimidate them. And you know, when we have the more violence that we have and the less intelligent we are with our firearms, the more likely it is that the government will come and take them from us. And I have a lot of friends who say, you know, from my cold dead hands, well, guess what? The United States military outguns all of us. And if we're not responsible with our firearms, eventually they will come and take them from us. And I won't blame them, because you know, you can't cure stupid, so we have to quit being stupid about that. Anyway, thank you.
We good? Okay. Hi, I'm James Barber, and if you've seen me or heard me at all over the last few years, you may have heard me talk about how important it is that we get health care for everybody, either Health Care for All Oregon or Medicare for All, and how important that is. But I want to talk today briefly about an existential threat that we're all facing. And you may have heard of it. It's called global warming or climate change. Some people have called it a climate crisis or a climate catastrophe. But I need you to understand that this is an existential threat. And I need you to understand what that means. Existential. It means our very existence is at stake based on how we react and how we act today. I'm a volunteer with the Bernie Sanders campaign, and I need you to pay attention to the presidential election that's coming up. And you probably will, but specifically I need you to realize who is going to fight for the change that we need to meet this existential threat. We're going to need an aggressive climate champion. And I believe that's Bernie Sanders. It doesn't have to be Bernie Sanders, though. Like, I just need you to make sure that whoever gets elected is going to be that climate champion, because we don't have time for anything else. That is now the number one issue that I am focused on, and it's my hope that we can get enough attention on this. Realistically, it's going to come down to Trump or one of the Democratic candidates. And we know that Trump is taking us backwards. He's increasing fossil fuel. He's increasing our carbon emissions. He's doing everything he can to undermine any efforts we have to save our planet and the environment. So regardless of what party you're in, I hope that you will register as a Democrat so that you can vote in the primary, and be sure that the Democratic nominee is a climate champion, so that we can, once we tackle that, we can focus on all the other important issues that we have to do. Thank you for listening.
I'm Dan Pouliou, and I'm going to tell you something you haven't heard. Today, according to Kama Press, a newswire aligned with the Afghan unity government. The Afghan National Army's 209th Shaheen Corps said security forces destroyed a Taliban compound with airstrikes in Bolchirag district of the northern province of Faryab, killing 17 Taliban militants, wounding 9 and destroying vehicles, weapons, and munitions. The 205th Atal Corps said it killed 8 Taliban and wounded 7 in Maiwand district of the southern province of Kandahar, also defusing 17 IEDs in the province. In Tarankot City, capital of Uruzgan province, the 205th killed 7 Taliban militants and destroyed 2 of their motorcycles. In Ghazni province, the 203rd Thunder Corps said it repelled a Taliban attack on a security post in Andar district, killing 6 and wounding 2. In Karabagh district, an airstrike by the 203rd destroyed 2 Taliban vehicles, killing 9 and wounding 4. According to the Twitter account of Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid, the Taliban overran a base in Kanaka district of Jazjan province, killing 19 police and militiamen and wounding 6. They overran 2 bases in Puli Kumri, capital of the northern province of Baghlan, killing 3 National Forces personnel, wounding 3 and driving the rest to flight. Zabihullah accused the United States of killing 4 civilian villagers, including a child and an imam, with an airstrike in Garo district of Ghazni province. According to Taliban news agency Voice of Jihad, in the southern province of Zabul, the Taliban attacked the administration and police headquarters and nearby checkpoints in Daichopan district, overrunning one of the checkpoints and killing 7 and losing 1 killed and 3 wounded during the engagement. In Shamul Zai district, they attacked the administration center and killed 8 Special Forces commandos, sustaining 3 KIA and 5 wounded. That was just today in Afghanistan, and it's only a small sample of the action.
I'm Todd Boyle, and I came to talk again about the problem of low-income housing for the bottom 20%. There's 36,000 people in Eugene who are living on less than $1,000 a month, and about half of them are living on less than $500 a month. And what these are include many artists and poets and elders and people who have been valuable and essential part of our world and who are being displaced. Because what happens when they can't afford the rent, they can only afford $200 or $300 a month for rent, and those places are being disappeared. The numbers of units are going down, the rents are going up, nothing new is being built that can be rented for $200 or $300 a month. And that's because of the notorious and infamous anti-housing ordinances that are maintained by the city of Eugene. And so I want to come to talk about the policy-making process and why the policies have been running this way for a generation. Policy is a system of principles by which decisions are made for action by large organizations. Okay, so there are principles that are underlying the decisions that are made for whether you're going to allow ADUs or whether you're going to allow fourplexes. Those principles are worked out behind the scenes by a policy-making process, which is done opaquely for the most part. You can participate if you want to spend a whole lot of time, but you will still never see who are the ruling cliques in Eugene who actually wear the pants, making these decisions. So there is a policy framework that says things like, we want property values to go up, not down. We want to protect the livability, that homeowners should have the right to protect livability. That's a doctrine. Do homeowners have a right to protect their livability? We have 1/3 of the population is being displaced out of town? Hell no. Okay, so you have a policy, which is principles, right? These are a system of principles. You have a policy-making process, and then you have individuals. And so I just want to address those individuals and just to say how shameful it is and how cruel it is to displace the people of your own city who live here just like you because they don't have the almighty dollar. So just remember, if they had money, then we'd all be friends again. If they could throw down $1,200 a month, then they'd be a member of society again and they'd be allowed to live here. That's all it is? That's all it is? What about mothers who worked their whole life taking care of their families and didn't make money? And so they don't have Social Security. I mean, there's so many examples of why this is wrong. We have to get away from running everything by dollars, Because if we're just going to run everything by dollars, what do we need a government for? The Chamber of Commerce can run everything. The bank right there and the other bank, okay? So that's my rant. I'm really sick of it.
Thank you, Todd. My name is Antonio Gisbert. I am with ESSN, and we are starting a new thing called the Oregon People's Rebate. OPR2020.org is our webpage. Please go there to find out more information. Real simply, the end product of the OPR campaign, the Oregon People's Rebate campaign, is to rebate every Oregonian, every man, woman, and child, every person in Oregon, about $750 each year. So for a family of 4, this rebate would be an extra $3,000 for that family. Those monies are going to come from a small increase in the minimum corporate tax in Oregon. Only applies to giant corporations, any business that sells more than $68,493 a day. This is not your mom and pop coffee shop or your mom and pop hardware store. These would be large businesses. Currently, those large businesses are taxed less than 0.12%, and we're proposing an increase in that minimum tax up to 2.5%. So not very big, but it's a little bit more. We think it generates about $3 billion in revenue, and there's about 4 million Oregonians. Everybody gets an equal share, and it will help. It's not going to change the world, but it will help us get by and not fall far behind, not continue falling far behind.
Give us an update on this, filing.
The process is a ballot initiative that will be on the 2020, that we hope to put in the 2020 campaign. We just filed with the state of Oregon, and we are now in the process of collecting signatures. The first 1,000 is the first milestone. So please look for us at ESSN or find us at opr2020.org. Thank you. See you out there.
Hey, thank you, Todd Boyle, for being willing to host this forum, and thank you everybody for being here. My name is Thomas Hura. I don't know what I want to talk about. There's a lot of things that are frustrating. It's just good to have a forum to be able to talk about things. It's a time when, if the city council is in recess, the people need to have a voice. And so one thing that's definitely most concerning to me as someone who wants to become an educator one day is the funding for our education is sorely lacking throughout Lane County and throughout Oregon and throughout Eugene. And I think it's one of the problems that is absolutely pivotal to solve if we were to solve any other problem, right? With the intersection of all the problems in terms of housing. And what I hear from Todd when he talks about housing is that we need a more compassionate society. We need a society where young people learn empathy and learn that if we have the resources to allow for affordable housing to exist, we should have affordable housing that exists. You know, if you have the resources in a society, people should be able to access those resources. And so that's what I'm really fired up about. But I will also tell you that in terms of education, well, we have this Student Success Act that just passed. That's exciting. It's $1 billion to go towards Oregon schools. It's a very, very overdue situation that the legislature finally decided to kick some money to our schools. But when that happened, it was a full party line vote in the Senate and the House in the Oregon State Legislature. So not a single Republican voted against it. For it. And not a single Democrat voted against it. And that, to me, indicates a big problem. Why can't we all agree that our young people need proper resources? Why is it that when I was in high school in 2011, we would just run out of paper around April? So if you needed to print something, you have final papers, you have assignments, well, the students had to figure it out. See, I'm 25, so I've been going through
this whole crap with not having enough education funding for my whole life, it affects all of my friends in terms of, having a slow start, a bad start, not being able to get into the right job training or college programs. And it affects me in terms of how I want to be an educator that wants to prepare high schoolers for the world, and they're not even prepared to do basic writing because they were failed by their middle school, because the whole problem is that our society doesn't prioritize it enough. I would also add one more thing about white supremacy, because that's something else I'm hella fired up about. Education is one of the only ways that we will actually fix the problems of white nationalism in Oregon that are so entrenched in our society, and that we in beautiful Lane County and Eugene, Oregon can actually stand up and fix. Because although we are a predominantly white city and town, we are also a very empathetic and kind town, and we understand that those things should go together. People of all races and all nationalities should be able to have basic empathy and kindness and compassion for all other people. And so I am frustrated that people at all levels of our government are not taking seriously enough this tide of white nationalism and white supremacy and not condemning it enough. So thank you, everybody.
Hi, my name is Sandy Mann, and I'm running for Lane County Commissioner in 2020. Pete Sorensen is not running again. I've run before. I've run against Sid Lycan in 2014 and Springfield against Pat Farr in 2016, North Eugene. And I ran with John Lively for the Democratic seat to be Oregon representative in Springfield in 2012. I had some notes. I'm not prepared to speak right now, but I want to speak mostly right now. On June 14th of this year, I was physically assaulted at my apartment complex, and I believe it was the work of some people that were members, perhaps white nationalists. I'm not sure, but I have my suspicions. Since that time, I found out, I thought it was the individual that lived behind me that did it. Found out that it wasn't him, that it was a buddy of his. I filed a report with the Eugene police. When I found out that it was someone else, I called the officer on the case. Maybe I won't name his name right now. And I've called twice and left a message. He never got back to me. I called his sergeant. He never got back to me. I filed a restraining order against the wrong person, not knowing it was the wrong person, and the judge signed off on it. Then I signed a restraining order against the right person, and Judge Love, I don't care, I'll mention her name, I'd never vote for her again, refused to sign the order. Something's wrong when I have sustained 63 to 65 bruises, hematomas, contusions, and scrapes all over my body, and a judge will not sign a restraining order. Since that time, I have talked to a number of especially young women in their 20s and 30s who have been physically assaulted and raped in this area, and the police and the sheriff's office have done absolutely nothing. This is a travesty. It should not be happening in Lane County in 2019. It feels like it's 1880. I think something should be done. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone. I just want to talk about one thing for 1 minute. It is disgusting what we see from the Democrat these days when they talk about the gun control, violence and mass shooting and everything else, and wagging their fingers on the Republicans and Mitch McConnell. When they controlled the Senate and the House and the White House in 2013, they blocked a bill that restricts everything for gun violence and mass shootings. They blocked it. Democrats blocked the bill in 2013, and now crying, using a tragedy to play politics. This is disgusting, and you should know about it, and you should know who you want to vote for. Even like, I know Merkley and Wyden and DeFazio, they voted yes for the bill. It didn't pass, but they didn't talk. They didn't blame their party for not passing the bill. And now they're playing politics and blaming Mitch McConnell. It is disgusting to come from these good guys. Thank you.
All right, well, the first thing I want to say is that downtown's next Saturday, in light of the open carry rally, I just want to ask everyone to stay safe and please look out for one another. My name is Julie Lambert, and I want to convey a short update on the TAC report implementation. As we know, our community has a well-known dire need for low barrier shelter for our unhoused, including a navigation and/or day center, as well as barriers removed for those seeking housings. Peter Chavins is heading up the beginnings of the implementation of the TAC report, starting with using the $1.9 million in funds to put together a community outreach team comprised of members of the community who are housing challenged to reach out to the currently unhoused. The outreach teams are being assembled to go to the streets, talk to our folks, find out how to best meet their needs. We will be reporting on the implementation of the TAC report every week to keep our community updated on the progress of the recommendations until councilors and commissioners return. Many continue to work actively in the background to keep that ball rolling. And we will also bring you, in addition to here every Monday night at 7, you can listen to our news program at 11:30 at 97.3 KEPW. Or you can live stream it at kepw.org. So we're inviting all community members to please come to this People's Forum, where we have a voice to keep all of our community informed. Every Monday at Free Speech Plaza at 7 o'clock. Hope to see you there. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Kraus. I'm going to read to you a little sign I just read in one of our wonderful businesses, the Kiva. We, the people, stand for inclusive liberation and against racism, white supremacy, sexism, transphobia, homophobia, fascism, anti-Semitism, classism, Islamophobia. Our community stands against all prejudice. I'm calling on the government in this town to speak out against the Trump Guns and God rally scheduled to be right here in Free Speech Plaza, which will be highly occupied by people this Saturday from 1 to 3. I want to take a little journey back in time, speaking of guns. I can only have time to go back for 2 months. These are the listings of the mass shootings in the last 2 months in this country. August 5th, Brooklyn. August 4th, Chicago. August 4th, Memphis. August 4th, Chicago. August 4th, Chicago. August 3rd, El Paso. August 2nd, Suffolk, Virginia. July 30th, Columbus, Ohio. July 28th, Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. July 28th, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. July 28th, Gilroy, California. July 28th, Washington, D.C. July 28th, Uniontown, Pennsylvania. July 27th, Wichita, Kansas. July 27th, Brooklyn, New York. July 26th, Kennewick, Washington. July 25th, Canoga Park, California. July 21st, Chicago, Illinois. July 21st, Washington, D.C. July 20th, Jersey City, New Jersey. July 20th, Clearton, Pennsylvania. July 20th, Baltimore, Maryland. July 20th, Chicago, Illinois. July 18th, Chicago, Illinois. July 17th, Lubbock, Texas. July 16th, San Antonio, Texas. July 15th, Atlanta, Georgia. July 14th, Chicago. July 13th, Chicago. July 13th, Pennsylvania. July 11th, Houston, Texas. July 8th, Washington, D.C. July 7th, Flint, Michigan. July 7th, St. Louis, Missouri. July 7th, Chicago, Illinois. July 7th, Chicago, Illinois. July 7th, Chicago, Illinois. July 7th, Albuquerque, New Mexico. July 6th, San Jose, California. July 6th, St. Louis, Missouri. July 5th, Boston, Massachusetts. July 5th, Reno, Nevada. July 5th, Chicago, Illinois. July 5th, Brooklyn, New York. July 4th, Chicago, Illinois. July 4th, Rockford, Illinois. July 4th, Los Angeles, California. July 4th, Fresno, California. July 3rd, Katy, Texas. July 2nd, St. Louis, Missouri. July 1st, Baltimore, Maryland. That is in July and August so far this year. This is a list of mass shootings in this country in the since July 1st.
What's the definition of a mass shooting?
Oh, no, mass killings is, I think, 4 deaths. Mass shootings is any incident in which at least 4 people were shot.
Hi, I'm Majeska C. Screen. I just want to add a little more about how much I appreciate that this People's Forum is happening and encourage more people to come and participate. And thanks to Todd for hosting this and getting it started and doing the video. Some of us were talking before 7 o'clock about how easy it would be to get a number of organizations kind of behind this People's Forum. And then if there were a number of organizations playing a core part and making sure they send a person or 2 every time, there you got a core group, and it would be easy to continue this happening. I'd love to see it happen at 7 o'clock, even on the Mondays that City Council is meeting, for instance, because they don't start till 7:30. And it's really different when we have this opportunity to not just be directing our thoughts to a City Council or County Commission, who sometimes it's hard to tell whether or not they're listening. Our audience is much broader than that. And with this kind of People's Forum, there's other things that we can accomplish and feel a part of, as we know we all need to increase our community's engagement. Community and the government entities need to be engaged in a more meaningful way than they have. There's been progress over the years, but still progress that can be made yet. So this can be part of that process. Thanks.
I just wanted to endorse the idea of a $750 rebate to all Oregonians by increasing corporate taxes a little tiny bit on corporations operating in Oregon. Just for everyone's information, corporate profits in the United States are running $2 trillion per year. So $2 trillion is such a giant number that nobody can even possibly comprehend it. And it's more than the Social Security and Medicare programs combined. It's like a vast amount of money, and which adds up to 1.5 trillion. It's more than twice the ridiculously huge military spending. And so in response to this ridiculous ongoing corporate profit scandal that goes on year after year, where they're looting the people, every place where they've erected barriers to competition, they've got regulatory fiefdoms, the pharma, the energy, So in response to this, what does the Congress do? They reduce the corporate income tax rate from 35% down to 21%, leaving 14% on the table. And so what did all the 50 states do, more than half of which are run by Democrats? Nothing. They left the 14% on the table. Comes now ESSN and the ballot initiative to tax a little bit, a couple of percent at the bottom. We should just increase the corporate tax rate by 14% in the state of Oregon, I mean, come on. Where's the common sense here? I mean, it's math literacy. So you can see why they don't want to have math literacy in the schools. That's my rant. I endorse this and I'm going to work for it.